So, I'd like you to give a warm, great place to work for all welcome to the Chairman and CEO of Comcast NBC Universal, Brian Roberts. Hello, Brian. Nice to see you. Yeah, we have to get used to this new behavior. But we were just talking backstage about maybe we should just get rid of handshakes altogether.
Absolutely.
Maybe it's time. So maybe we're onto something. Oh, okay. Boom, boom. There you go. All right. Hey. So Brian, we actually have a surprise for you. Last night we had a celebration, and I know you were actually flying on your way here, but we celebrated for all leaders that have created a remarkable culture, in your case, in a huge company. And the way we do that is we look at the experience of the employees, every employee, from the bottom of the company, the middle, to the top. And when it's a consistent experience, we say this is a for all leader. So right now, I have an award for you.
Wow.
This is your great place to work for all.
Fantastic.
For all leader.
Thank you.
And just a question for you, how's it feel to be a for all leader?
First of all, thank you very much. We're honored, and the thing that I think about what's so great about Great Place to Work is you can't buy it. Your recognition is from your employees. So for me, it means all of Comcast is working and pulling in the same direction. I think about that. My dad started the company, and it's about the culture, and I've always said I have one job, which is to maintain a special culture at our company. So to be recognized like this is an amazing honor, and thank you very much.
Okay, congratulations. You can have a seat, Brian. Okay. And next, I'd like you to give a warm, great place to work for all welcome to Christian Clerc, the President of Global Operations of the Four Seasons. Nope. Oops. That's my seat.
I want to sit in yours.
It's a great place to work at Four Seasons, so maybe, you know.
Yeah, okay. Okay, well, Brian, we'll start with you. Please give us an understanding of the DNA, the beginning of Comcast, what is now Comcast NBC Universal.
Well, as I just said a moment ago, my dad, and it's nice to think about him at a moment like this, started Comcast in 1963 in Tupelo, Mississippi. He was based in Philadelphia. He was looking for a new business, a serial entrepreneur, and from the beginning, he had done many other businesses. For whatever reason, he decided this was the one, or became the one, and he thought of a name, communications and broadcasting, so he made it Comcast. It wasn't about Roberts Cable, and he wanted to build a little IBM. Back in 1963, that was the dream company, and he wanted to, when the day came that our market cap passed IBM and someone called Comcast a little blue chip, I think that made him very proud. And he sat and built an organization chart with a yellow pad and put boxes there and said, it's not going to be all about Ralph, it's going to be all about the professional and the employees. And I started working there when I was right out of college, 1981. We had 20 million in revenues. This year we'll do over 110 billion, and we kind of did it together with a B. Yeah. And it's a crazy fantasy ride that I had the privilege of doing with my dad until he passed away at 95 about 4 years ago. So I'm very grateful and take nothing for granted, but I also try to think about the question of where we started and what does it mean to work for the company today, a lot different. And my dad used to say things like, well, I never want to work for a big company. And I had to go and say, you got to stop saying that because we became a big company. So how do we make a big company act small and have everyone feel engaged is my number one job.
Okay. And Christian, what about the beginnings of Four Seasons?
Well, Michael, before I tell you about the beginnings of Four Seasons, I would like to congratulate David Marriott and the Marriott Group on 19 years of hospitality and not a mere 60 years. So this is really remarkable. And I would also like to say thank you to the Marriott team that's taking such a great care of us in this beautiful hotel. So thank you for that. Four Seasons started 60 years ago, in 1961, just 2 years before Comcast, and with a very humble and small motel in Toronto. And our founder and chairman, Mr. Sharp, had this vision from early on that service and not architecture or design was going to be the key differentiator. And so he realized early on that what was going to make the company unique is service and therefore people. And so it's always been part of our DNA from the very beginning. We're a people-powered company. We're very proud of that. Today we have 117 hotels around the world, so still a small company compared to Marriott's and Hilton's. But we only do luxury hotels. We only do, we try to go and create exceptional product everywhere we operate. We also have 45 residential projects, and we operate in 47 different countries, so truly a global footprint. And for us, the challenge is to continue to stay connected, being a small company, but with such a large footprint.
Your opening was amazing. That was well done. You're a class act.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
There's a round of applause for you. So, I've been to the Tech Center. I've seen the Four Seasons in Philadelphia. If we could cue up the video so our audience can see what you two have worked together to create.
Philadelphia has this really rich and long history of innovation, so to have Comcast here seems very symbolic.
We went downtown to the action and built a vertical campus.
The minute you walk through the lobby, you're greeted with trees, natural light.
And the art that's right in front.
You come up the escalator, you're hit with a flurry of people, and that's kind of like, it's the signal, okay, the day's starting.
I remember that first week when we moved in and just experiencing the grandeur.
The spaces at Comcast have encouraged greater collaboration.
It's like a neighborhood.
Every single floor has a unique piece of art. I think that's really inspiring.
The Ralph J. Roberts Forum, it's a space that allows our employees to gather and hold a lot of different types of events.
The Comcast Center campus it's very welcoming. It's so important that this campus welcomes the public. We have the Four Seasons Philadelphia at the top of our building.
The Four Seasons Hotel is unparalleled. It has a John George restaurant at the top. It has the most spectacular views.
Taking people there, they're just awestruck at this beautiful space and how amazing it is and the great view of the city. We didn't have something like that prior to the Technology Center.
There's an energy here at Comcast that's just raw, it's organic, and it's bringing this amazing element to the city of Philadelphia.
Looks like two amazing, great places to work. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
So Brian, what made you think about making such a commitment to your city and to your people?
Well, we have another building that's the corporate office. We had outgrown it when we bought AT&T Broadband and then NBC Universal. The company, as I was just saying, exploded in size. And we were looking for where to put the next several thousand employees, and we were spread all over Philadelphia. And we had bought a parking lot next door to the first building. And the short version is simply, do you build building 2 as, quote, just a little less than building 1 because it's the administration building or whatever you might call it, or building 2? Do you make it the twin? Or do you try and redefine the whole company? And somewhere along the way, we recruited Sir Norman Foster, who was in the process of building Apple out here and Bloomberg in London and the British Museum and the Beijing airport and many, many amazing other projects. He had never built a Four Seasons hotel. And he said, I'm intrigued to take an urban East Coast city and try to build a vertical campus and do technology. All of those things don't compute. And so we said, let's make building 2 better than building 1. Let's make it the heart and soul for the second 50 years of the company. Finance and bootstrap was the first 50 years. And if we're going to be in business, I think back to something I learned here from Steve Jobs on one of the many visits I used to do to Apple. And he said, you got to love your products. And so we're going to invent great products like our Voice X1 remote or our Wi-Fi and services that NBC and Universal offer. And so it became a rallying cry. We could pivot, even though we have an office in Silicon Valley, we have an office in Denver, we have an office in India, we're going to create these products all over the world. This is the corporate home. And for Philadelphia, despite what W.C. Fields once said, which is at his gravestone, I'd rather be here than in Philadelphia, which has plagued someone from Philadelphia for 60 years, it's a great city. And so we've got a young workforce that can begin their families, bike to work, great restaurants, and we needed a Four Seasons signature hotel that would put this city back on the map that it belongs. And so it all just came together, and I'm very proud we did it.
It's beautiful work.
Exceeded expectations, as you just saw, and it's great. And we hope you all come visit one day and stay at the Four Seasons.
Christian, what did you learn from that process of working with Comcast there?
Well, you know, when we look to do new projects, we always look for 3 things. We look for a great partner, we look for an exceptional location, and we look to build superlative product. You know, best-in-class product in every location where we operate. And so if you think about Philadelphia, we had an incredible partner in Brian, whose vision was extraordinary for redefining the landscape of the city. And I have to say that for us, when we say a great partner, we don't only mean somebody who has the means to build a beautiful hotel, but somebody who has a similar view in terms of, you know, our culture. And so we're here talking about for all. And I think one of the great elements of the partnership with Comcast and with Brian is that we have a shared vision about, you know, how we go about our business and how, you know, what inclusion means and you know, how we make sure that everybody feels that they're part of the success of what we create. And so in Philadelphia, we had an amazing partner, the best location in town. I mean, you saw the pictures. And then the ability to create a product that was truly defining. You could pick up that hotel and move it anywhere in the world, and it would be the best hotel in town. I mean, it's that good. And then we added, I mean, we talked about Norman Foster, but we added dimensions such as, you know, we brought Greg Vernick, who is a local celebrity chef in Philadelphia, never done anything outside of Philly, and he came and did Vernick Fish to anchor the hotel. And then on the top floor of the hotel, 60th floor and 59, we brought Jean-Georges to do kind of a Jean-Georges in the sky experience. You've got the international experience, and you're grounded in local culinary expertise with Greg Vernick. Then we brought Jeff Latham, our celebrity florist from Paris, to do extraordinary installations. And then we benefited from the technology that Brian talked about earlier. And so if you come into the Four Seasons Philadelphia and you see our rooms, the in-room technology is superb, starting with a digital art piece that is very unique. So we've used, and again, this was Brian's vision, but we used the television as a piece of art before you use it to watch, to be entertained. So those are some of the dimensions that we work together and why I think this has been such a great success.
Mm-hmm. And Brian, you run a huge organization with millions of customer interactions every day. What have you learned from the Four Seasons and about the employee experience and how to create great customer service?
Well, that's just it in a nutshell. It's no secret that Comcast was heavily criticized a bunch of years ago for customer service. And one of the great acts of leadership that I like to always point out is we had the CEO of our cable company at the time, a gentleman named Neil Smith, who was a former SEAL Team 6 commander. And he came into my office on the day we pulled back from a merger that we did not do, and we were being beaten up and bloodied on maybe unfairly, maybe some deserved. He said, you know what, we should embrace this and make customer service our best product. And so we started on a road that the last 5 years, the results have been pretty extraordinary. And what better company and what better statement could you make to have the finest service company maybe on the planet anchor your campus? And we own it. We partner on it, but technically those people are profit and loss. It's on Comcast. So you come in and you have the finest hotel experience in America and one of the finest in the world, or certainly that was our dream. That's Comcast giving you that service. And how better to get our own employees to understand and learn from the incredible culture that Mr. Sharp started back in 1961. And so we took our team up to Toronto and met for days and hours on what does it really mean? You can build a fancy structure. What do we have to do to have the Georges V quality of the Four Seasons in Paris? And who are the people that know how to do that? And so we've put together a team, or Christian put together a team in Philadelphia, full-time, moved to our city, disrupted their life, and that's part of the Four Seasons culture. And that team came from the Georges V and came from Beverly Hills and came from places that, along with Philadelphians. So when you come, you have an incredible experience. And all of our employees, we then said, if you want to spend a night at the Four Seasons before we open, it's on us. And we made one little mistake, which is we did it all at once. And we shut down the worldwide reservation systems of Four Seasons for like a week until we said we were just kidding.
Crushed the internet.
And we had to run a lottery. But there was so much enthusiasm to see what was happening, and everybody knows that that Four Seasons represents the pinnacle of service, and that's what we aspire to give you in those millions of transactions every day as a cable customer or a theme park visitor. And I think we've made tremendous strides, and Four Seasons has been a big partner to help us learn and execute.
So Christian, all around the world, different languages, different cultures, you're known for the legendary service of Four Seasons. How do you do that? How do you find these magical people and keep them magical?
Yeah, so it's a great question. I think that it's a few things. First of all, we hire for attitude and we train for skills. In our business, we know that the most special moment happen outside of policies and procedures. When you interact with someone in any service experience, the authentic, genuine, sincere approach is what you will remember. You're not going to remember the transactional part of whatever it is that you were doing, a check-in or check-out, working with the concierge. You know, you're not going to remember what they say, but you will always remember how people made you feel. And so for us, when we hire people, we ask them questions such as, you know, tell me the last time you did something special for someone, and tell me how that made you feel. Not them, you know. There's two types of people in the world. There's people who like to receive gifts, and there's other who likes to give gifts. And people who give gifts, I'm sure there's many in this room, take as much pleasure from giving a gift than receiving it. And that's the kind of people we're looking for. And so it starts with, in the hiring process, really looking for those qualities of confidence, because service takes confidence, a genuine approach, and then we train for the skill. And we ensure that everybody has the tools and the equipment they need. And then one small program that we have internally that's really important, I think, is powerful. Every one of our employees get a number of complimentary nights in our hotels around the world every year. Everyone, from the front line, the room attendants, the stewards, everybody gets that. And when they do that, they don't check in from the back door, they come from the front door, and they treat it just like any other guest. And the powerful part of that experience is that it puts our employees into the shoes of our guests, and they realize how important everything they do is to the guest experience. And what's interesting about it is they become very picky suddenly, because they're on the service and like, well, you didn't follow that procedures. And so it's really powerful, and it's just something we've done, and we continue to protect it because it's at the core of our culture.
Okay. Brian, in your user organization, your business is one of the most, in terms of diversity, one of the most diverse companies on our list. What are you doing to make sure you've got that diversity throughout the organization, from top to bottom?
Well, we started at an era where this was never discussed and thought about as a business strategy, and I think we quickly evolved somewhere along the line, I can't remember exactly when, and said, we want to look like our customers. And we're not perfect by any stretch of imagination, and it's always so appreciated when the efforts of the team, and with me today, Bill Strahan, who's run human resources for the cable company, where we've made exceptional progress on new hires, on promotions, and its culture. And we've had some white males at the top who've really believed that their opportunity with the platform that we've been able to build with Comcast, NBC, Universal, and Sky now in Europe to help make the world a better place in many ways and make our business healthier. And you can do both. So I think it's very much in our DNA when we put out a film, who the cast is, who the directors are. It's all now part of the operating unit. It's not just a separate diversity initiative. And we're constantly pushing ourselves with, are we doing a good enough job, and could we do better, and what are lessons learned? We have employee resource groups, 300 across the company, 35,000 members, and we try to emphasize involvement, even if that group is not looking exactly like yourself, that's okay. I was recently, one of our military groups gave me a Comcast military jacket. I said, well, I'm not worthy. I wasn't in the military. My dad was. They said, we want you to wear it, because of, and it made me think about that for a little bit. So all in ways that you can't even comprehend when you initially get started, it just snowballed in part of what I think our company is most proud we are able to be inclusive, and I think we have a long way to go.
Okay. Christian, how about for you at Four Seasons?
Well, we're an incredibly diverse company, as I talked about earlier, because we're in 47 countries. And if you think about the hospitality industry, the hotel business, the pyramid is inverse, and the most important people are in the front line. And so our frontline employees are incredibly diverse around the world. And that's something that we take great pride on. I would say that we have focused on vertical diversity, and proud to say that last year at Four Seasons, the number of women in senior leadership have increased by 30%, which is a remarkable number. For example, in the US, 40% of our management team self-identifies as a minority group, 40% in the US. So for us, it's something we should never take for granted, but I do think the inclusion piece is really important. Coming to conferences like this, and Michael, thank you again for all the work that you do and Great Places to Work does. We learn so much from all the great companies out there and what they're doing, and I think the important part is to never take anything for granted and learn from others. I mean, this for all piece is not for all at Four Seasons or for all at Comcast. It's for all of us. And I think we can really, beyond the frontier of our own companies, I think we can try to elevate and really have an impact broadly.
Mm-hmm. So Christian, which I forgot to mention, please give Christian a round of applause. He got one of our For All Leader Awards last night.
Thank you.
Well deserved.
And, thinking about that, and you get feedback all the time. You do the survey. What are you working on as a leader?
Yeah.
What behaviors are you working on?
So, for us, the emotional intelligence piece is really important. We find that the notions of empathy, being sincere, active listening, are extremely powerful in leadership. So what I'm working on is being better at active listening, especially in times of uncertainty like right now. As a leader, I think in times of, when you're in the middle of the storm, you're going to tend to be more directive. And what I'm working on is making sure that I suspend judgment as I'm getting input from the people I trust and I work with to make sure that we end up to the right decision and don't jump up to conclusions too fast. So that's what I'm working on.
Okay. Brian, how about you?
Well, the company's all over, like Christian, all over the world now, but also in many different businesses. So our heritage is to be a decentralized decision-making company. If we just follow the theme of the virus and the crisis management, it really tests how much you trust your people and how good your systems are and whether they're looking for answers or they're proactively offering solutions. So I came from a call this morning where we went around, and I'm really impressed with how much people are stepping up in our company with a humane, trying to balance how do we stay open, keep the economy going, keep jobs, and not take risks that is imprudent for our guests or our employees and our customers. And it's, to me, this is when great places to work really makes a difference, is when you see the reaction of your people. And so for me, what I'm working on right this minute is trying to kind of map out where we go from here, what are various roads that might, in scenario role-playing. On a broader question, when you're not in the middle of a crisis, it's very simply culture. So we had 90% of our employees take the annual employee survey, and 80% do the twice-a-month follow-up for NPS, employee NPS scores. That 90% of 100,000 employees, every year the HR team and they come in and I go, it can't be real. What are you doing to get those people to do that? That's just ridiculous. And the answer is we listen and we actually have feedback. So last year there was give us better tools so we can resolve customer problems quicker, or give us more authority to resolve it on the front line. Or one year it was don't start benefits 90 days after we're hired. Start them on day one. And so we changed. And that decision I had nothing to do with. But it moved our scores that year to you listen to us. So it comes back to when you're in a large company, you either try to do it all yourself, and we've seen a few Van Goghs running companies who just have that extra gear. I don't view that as myself. I view it as we're trying to create a family where everybody's important and that you're act like an owner, not a renter, and we're decentralized with the respect of your colleagues. And I think that's my number one job.
You look better with 2 ears, by the way. So just a final thought I'd like you to share with the audience. Either a communication of a message of inspiration. Many of the people here are influencing their leaders. Some trying to influence their CEOs about the benefit of being a great place to work for all. Or anything that you'd like to share with the audience, particularly so that they get to know your company in a different way. You can take either one of those. Or mix them together.
For me, I think it would be all around showing up every day with purpose. I mean, you talked a lot about purpose last night, and really being, convinced that the myth of a self-made man doesn't exist, or self-made woman. That we're all the product of the people that have helped us along the way, and that our responsibility is to pay it forward to the people who are working with us, for us. And maybe on the last note, that to me, and it's why I joined this industry, the hospitality field, is I really believe that the value of a human being has nothing to do with the title, the bank account, their origin. It all has to do with who they are. And everybody is important, everybody has a story. And so that would be my call to action.
Okay.
Well, that's a tough question and a great question, and I'm respectful of our time. So, never said this before, thought about this, but so I just turned 60, and I've been thinking about questions like that, and it was a tough birthday to get over, I have to admit. And so my sister gave me a book called The Choice, or recommended I read a book called The Choice. It's about an Auschwitz survivor, Dr. Edith Egers, and maybe some of you have read the book. It's not new. And it's a kind of a dark subject, to say the least. And the premise, as I took away, was we all have a choice every day. The glass is half full or the glass is half empty. And here was an extraordinary story. And I think about my own father, who lived through the Depression, lost a number of family members very young, including his mother and father before he was 19, and his brother and his sister, and terrible things. And he's the most optimistic person I ever met. And we'd go do a big merger, part of that journey, that Comcast, and he'd come in Monday morning and go, oh my gosh, we overpaid, we're going to go out of business tomorrow. But then we'd get up and do it again next deal. And I think we all have a choice of how are we going to present ourselves? Are we going to be, and it's not that we don't worry, and it's not that you want to be unrealistic, and there's many different leadership styles that can work. There is no answer to that question, in my opinion, but there's a certain set of common traits of what makes people successful, and I think we have a choice.
Okay, all right. Please give a warm, great place to work for all welcome to these great leaders.